Hey, it's Dr. B, and today I just wanted to talk a little bit about hiring or attracting top talented millennials and Gen Z employees. There is a big difference between the older generation's workplace preferences and the younger generation workplace preferences. The reality is that millennials and Gen Zs are very hard workers. They're very smart. They're very talented. Um, the issue is they simply have different workplace expectations. And just like I'm a Gen X, and if my uh, employer wasn't meeting my expectations in the workplace, I wouldn't want to work for that employer either. And so that's really what's happening. Millennials and Gen Zs are not job hoppers. They simply are looking for an environment that they're comfortable working in and that they feel like cares and appreciates who they are. So let's talk about those differences. I'm going to share out my screen real quick. Um, PowerPoint is, Canva is not the greatest um, communication tool in the world, but for the micro trainings, they're just necessary. So, one of the things that millennials and Gen Zs are looking for is they're looking for an organization that understands that work-life balance is important. Now, for the older generations, what that means is you need to have a good benefit package, and you need to have a flexible benefit package. It's not all about the money. It's about the ability to work remotely, work in a hybrid environment, take additional days off if needed, and just, again, have a little bit more flexibility around the old traditional HR workplace 9 to 5 rules. Those rules were developed all the way back by Henry Ford in a manufacturing environment. They were the 40-hour work week was actually built for factory workers, and what they measured was how long can a man, because women typically weren't embraced in that environment, how long can a man work physically until they just can't work anymore? And that's 40 hours a week, according to Henry Ford. And that's where the 5-day, 48-hour week work week came from. In today's environment, it's actually more stressful to work in a knowledge-based environment. And the optimum work week is actually 32 to 36 hours of work. After 32 hours, the amount of mental work that we actually do degrades. And so we work slower, and we also are less effective at the job after 32 hours of work. That's all scientifically proven. You can read lots and lots of reports on it. But this is where the younger generations are coming from and why the older generations might not understand the difference in those workplace preferences. The next one is, the younger generations are looking for learning and development opportunities. Why? Mainly because higher education has simply failed them. I have another presentation on why 31% of hiring managers will not hire a Gen Z. And in some areas here in Florida, Gen Z unemployment is as high as 28, 29%. That's super, super scary. And there are some very specific reasons why. So the younger generations are looking to corporations to help them understand what a corporate environment looks like, how to work within the corporate environment, and also on the job training. So the next one is financial benefits. Of course, they're concerned because their number one concern today is cost of living. However, notice that it's not the number one concern. So just offering them more money doesn't mean that they're going to be any more or less happy working for your company. Next is the workplace culture where people feel valued and have a sense of belonging. Again, that's part of positive leadership psychology and industrial psychology, that in a knowledge-based, technologically advanced workplace, people need more than just a paycheck. And again, opportunities to grow, derive a sense of meaning from their work. That simply means that, like, for instance, Tom's and Bombas, probably the two most famous, For every pair of shoes you buy at Tom's, they donate a pair. For every pair of socks they buy at Bombas, they donate a pair. So it's super important for your company to have some form of sustainability management as well as philanthropic work going on so that they know that they're just not there to produce a dollar and make a profit. They're actually there to do good while doing well. And if you want to study what that might look like, take a look at bcorporation.net. Bcorporation.net. It's a type of corporation that's certified to be sustainable, innovative, and practice the ideal of doing well while doing good. And then finally, like we started out with, the flexible working environment. So these are just some of the things that the younger generations are looking for. Um, Here are some other statistics if you want to take a look at, right? If you want your Gen Z and millennial employees to actually stay longer than a year, you're going to want to make sure that they feel empowered. Because if they don't feel like they're heard, they're going to leave. 50% of them will leave within a year. That's scary, right? So again, like we started out with, millennials and Gen Zs are hard worker. They're hardworking. They're not job hoppers. What they are is they're mobile. And this is something that the older generations may not understand. When we were young, we couldn't afford, I'm a Gen Xers, we couldn't afford to leave a job because we didn't have the option of living with our parents. You know, it was like 18, we were out the door and on our own. In today's modern environment and modern society is more common for and most common for the younger generations to stay at home longer. Therefore, they don't have to put up with BS in the workplace or what they consider BS in the workplace. They don't have to put up with bad treatment, you know. And so, if we don't understand what they're looking for and how to manage them with the supportive leadership and participative leadership styles, then they have the freedom to quit and move someplace else because they do have mobility. Um, Another environment was look at this 63 and 62% of them prefer to work in a hybrid environment. Their idea, and I'll tell you, I've worked in remote teams for my entire career. I started in construction, I went into IT management, I've managed national, regional positions that had thousands of responsible for thousands of people and their livelihood in some way or another. And, you know, I had a mobile printer when I was in construction in the 1990s that I could use in my truck. So this idea of work is the workplace is wherever work gets done. It's been around for 3 decades or more. It's just now catching up, especially after COVID kind of forced us into that adoption. And so we need to be, again, like I said, cognitive of these things. And then finally, it's the last set of data I wanted to share. And this slide is, again, on how do you retain those employees, those millennial and Gen Z's employers, right? So if a Gen Z, Gen Z or millennial employee is very satisfied with your social impact, with progress in creating a diverse and inclusive environment. I know in today's politically charged workplace, those words sometimes don't resonate well with some people. I'm not here to say they should or shouldn't. What I am here to say is this is what the younger generations are looking for. And finally, commitment to sustainability. And if a company is not doing those things well, the employees are likely to seek employment other places. So these are just a few of the things that we learned from study, from research. My research as a behavioral research scientist, as a multi-generational team leadership and creativity and innovation for leading through change. Um, and the data just doesn't lie. What we need to do as senior leaders is make sure that we are adopting and that we are flexible and that we can adapt to the new reality of what the workforce is changing into, and the fact that more than 52, actually, I think it's 54, 56% now of the workforce is millennials and Gen Zs. And so, unless, if we don't adapt, if we do adapt, let me be positive. If we do adapt, our companies are going to thrive, just not survive. If we don't adapt, our companies are going to struggle, and you're going to see attrition much greater than we have in the past. But if we do adapt, we are going to be the companies that the younger generations rave about and would never leave, even if someone offers them more money. So I hope this was helpful. Subscribe to my channel, sld360.com. Reach out to us online at sld360.com. Email me at Greg at SLD or SLED, SLD360.com. And let me know how I can help you. Answer any questions that I can. Thanks. Bye.